Okay, now this is where it gets a little bit scary if you were looking to do this kind of repair. Worst thing you can do is fix it, cause it's broken and screwed up right now. But whenever I feel it like hit a snag, I'll back it up. I want to clean my tap now. We went in a pretty good little ways here. Hope all goes well. Woo! Woo! Something's not right. Whew. You know, everybody's usually gets pretty jazzed up whenever they think of a barn find. Now we're in the middle of, let's say, restoring about 6 of those that we've called the dirty half dozen. This one that I'm leaning up on right now is a 1968 Chevy Caprice that we've drug out that has been stored up for about 25 plus years. Oh, we got more safety devices. What's that? 67? 68? I want to see this in fully uncovered. You know, oftentimes whenever you're taking a car that's been put up for a while, man, there's a lot to do. And that's what we're running into now. This thing is just every time we turn around, there's some little something that's keeping us from starting it. Now, we're getting really close to the finish line and being able to take it for a ride. And, you know, working on cars is a lot of fun, but it's also a whole lot of work. The next thing we've got to do on this thing is kind of fixing a problem that cars have. Well, the GM stuff is known to have, and it's not the most easiest fix by any means. Now, if you're looking to drag out one of these old cars, there's some things you're going to have to keep in mind. You're going to have to spend some money. You're probably going to have to break a sweat, and you might even have to talk yourself off the ledge a time or two.
I don't think you have the facilities for that, big man.
But it's all good because, you know, it's funny how once you get it all fixed and driving down the road and you feel the wind in your hair and you got your girl pulled up beside you and she's liking what's going on, all that heartache and hard work that you did kind of just goes away. You don't even really remember it. But our goal for this one is to take it on a cruise. We're going to have to get it spruced up and we're going to have to get it running. That's what we're doing right now. Up under the hood of this thing, we've got a 327 Chevrolet. It's got double hump heads on it. It's got a 400 turbo transmission, power steering, power brakes, points ignition. And what we've done so far is we've worked on the fuel system. We've got the ignition system pretty much all dialed in. We've redone the brakes. And we actually tried to crank it. We run into some issues with the starter and all that nonsense, but after hot wiring it, we got it where it was turning over, and that big old carburetor was literally pouring fuel out of it. Come on, baby. Ooh, we got a fuel leak. Yep, we got a big fuel leak. We had to stop at that time because I didn't want to run the risk of basically taking and burning my shop down. Once that motor gets hot and all them exhaust manifolds are cherry red and this thing leaking like it was, well, it just simply isn't worth it. Now, some folks would just go ahead and throw caution to the wind and do all that stuff, and that's fine if you're one of those kind of folks. But me, I like fixing things once and doing it right. So what we ran into is let's call it the inlet on this old Quadrajet is screwed up. Now we loosened this line right here up. As you can see, it's all wobbly and jiggly and floppy and all that, but that's not the problem. It's actually that thing right there. Now, whenever I rebuilt this carburetor a while back, what we were doing was we didn't clean the outside because if you'll notice the outside of the motor is funky, and I was like, man, there's just a whole lot of extra work for no real reason. So we went ahead and put that kit in it. But whenever we were taking this thing apart the first time, well, I noticed that the threads inside of there was a little bit crumbly, and I said, well, it might seal, so let's not over tighten it. Let's just cinch her down and see where it goes. Well, we did that. Once we started it, it was pouring out of here under the bottom. And whenever I just put my wrench on it, well, it gave away. You can see that it doesn't tighten up. in any form. We can actually pull it right out. That's the problem. So this is kind of common with these quadrajets. Sometimes people change the filter all the time because that's where it's located, right inside of there. So these little threads strip out inside the carburetor, and there's a company that makes one of these, but it's got some self-cutting threads in it, and that's what we had to pick up. Here's this cool little piece right cha. I'll get this thing out of here, and I'll show you guys the difference. This is the new one that we got, and if you'll notice, it's got all these little bitty little grooves or notches cut in the side of it. And this design, as you put it in there, it will slowly start cutting some new threads, because this outer diameter is just a taste bigger than what this one is. So that should fix us up, hopefully. Setting this thing up here in a place, it's considerably bigger than the opening of the carburetor right now, or in the carburetor. So it looks like I'm going to have to take this thing off and drill it, and then put this piece in there and let it cut its threads. Woo! It sounds a little scary, don't it? Well, so does burning a car to the ground. So let's take her off of there. Okay, now this is where it gets a little bit scary if you were looking to do this kind of repair. Now, this piece here, when it goes in there, you know, it fits like it's supposed to, except for there's no threads. Where after taking a bit of a closer look on this new piece, it's considerably larger. It doesn't even start. Like, it's a lot too big. Quite a good little bit larger. And I'm a little concerned that the bottom kind of edge of this carburetor is going to be too thin, and we're actually going to have to drill this thing out, because that piece doesn't even start, like nowhere near starting on it. The instructions tell you to kind of screw it in there, turn it a quarter turn, back it out, clean it off, put it back in, crank it another half turn to quarter turn, back it out, clean the threads, so on and so forth, until this thing finally cuts itself all those new ones. It's really and truthfully too big for this application, but it may work. Right now, this thing is kind of at a point. The worst thing you could do is fix it, because it's broken now. I mean, you can't use this thing at all, as bad as it was leaking. I did have a little bit of kind of an idea of taking a piece of copper wire and wrapping it around these threads and screwing it in there, and that would, with it being copper, it's real soft, and it would actually conform to those threads and probably hold. But I don't know if I want to chance it as far as a permanent repair. That would be something like if we were broke down on the side of the road, yeah, I would do it just to get us there. But I want to do it so that, you know, it's 100%. So that's where we're at. I'm potentially going to have to run that big giant drill bit through there, and probably even take the carburetor back apart to make sure we don't have any metal shavings inside of there. But we just going to have to do it. We're going to have to fix it. So it's time for me to get a drill bit, a couple more tools, and start slinging some chips. Ready? Hmm. How are we going to clamp it? Like so. And it seems like an odd angle to put a carburetor in. We're going to have to take that off too. Well, before we get too carried away. Brand new drill bits. Nah, it's going to come off. Man, that's kind of like sketchy to have to drill into a carburetor. Just got to do it. You know, there's nothing quite like the opportunity to take a giant drill bit and run it through your carburetor. One of them times, though, worst thing you can do is fix it. Because it's broken and screwed up right now. Just let her do her thing. Don't force it, just let it ride. We got chips coming out. It's getting there. So enough is getting there. Yep. No real pressure. I don't think that's deep enough. A little bit more. One of the tricks of this, you get that dude a humming, and then just let it do its thing. I think that'll work. Well, you can see by all my sparklies here on the table. And there's a new shiny hole inside that carburetor that I think we may have fixed it. But it's still yet to be determined. Looks pretty good inside of there, though. Now, holding that carburetor up like that, you know, chips don't really run uphill. So we could probably just put a little vacuum in here, shake that stuff out. We'd be okay. Alrighty. Well, we got gas coming out of it now. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to take some carburetor cleaner and flood it, let it wash it all out of there. That's what I'm going to do. That should do it. Yep, looks clean too. All right, now we got to screw this thing in there. It actually seems like this may work now. You want to make sure that you get it in straight. Kind of takes a little time. Don't get in a rush here. Just do your thing. Well, this is what wound up happening. This silly thing really and truly wouldn't bite in there, or it wasn't working at the rate that I was interested in. So I wound up ordering off of Amazon one of these giant taps that matches this thing. And so that's what we're going to do inside of here. We're going to just cut some new threads and move on. I tried with this thing here, and man, I couldn't imagine trying to do this with that thing on the car. It's kind of a pain, but I'm sure with this tap, once we get it in there and get it cranking around, that's to go as smooth as butter, right? Let's hope. Both fingers crossed. So it's pretty much straightforward, just like any other tap that you would try to do. We're going to put that in there, kind of get it started. I tell you what, before I do that, just because I know better, put a little oil on here, especially with aluminum. A lot of times that stuff galls up. A little bit of that oil go a long way. Trying to get my hand out of the way so you folks can see this whole process. Then I got a ratchet and a socket. I'm just going to put it on there. Crank it. And I'm sure there's some folks that go, and you should put this in a press and a lathe and this, that, and the other. And I get it. I mean, but I don't really have a lathe that works. I don't really have a mill. So this is one of those instances you gotta fix it out of necessity with what you got. I'm just kind of smoothly turning that. I don't want to force it. But whenever I feel it, like hit a snag, I'll back it up. I want to clean my tap now. We went in a pretty good little ways here. And that tap cost me about 30 bucks, 35 or so. I wrestled with that other one for about 45 minutes or so, and it never really took, if you will. That's whenever I just said, that's it. I'm gonna get me a tap, start over. Look in there. Man, that thing is cutting good. Like really and truly cutting real well. See if we can flood some of that out of there. Looks like we're gonna have to. Now, moment of truth. Let's just see what that does. Well, that's got gunk on it. Let's rinse them threads off. I'm actually gonna grab some compressed air. Want to make sure all that stuff's clean. Y'all know what I mean. Put a little spurt. Whoop, done bumped the camera. See how that works. Put it in there, cricket. Idiot. Man, that's working like it's supposed to. Pull that back out. I'm going to run that tap a little deeper. I think we got it. Yep, right there is where we just... Yeah, it's still cutting. Yeah, I think we just hit bottom. But we cut a few more threads though. I'm gonna blow this off of here. Got a little bit under here. Put our gasket on there. We can run her down. Now all we gotta do is tighten that thing up with a wrench, folks. And we'll be good to go. Well, alrighty, I want to give a little bit of an update. What we're at right now is I've got the carburetor all installed, and I did, before we put it in place, reinstall the filter and spring. So if any of you guys may have caught that just a minute ago, we actually put it in there. Also removed the top plate of the carburetor and inspected in there to see if I had any big aluminum chunks, and it was clean. So we didn't have to do much cleaning. I put the carburetor top back on it. So now the next thing we're gonna do is, I really and truly, we're gonna end up driving this car around. So I'm gonna remove the ignition switch, and that isn't gonna be that easy of a task because, well, since we're gonna drive it, I want a real switch in it instead of doing the hot wired thing. So I'm gonna slow down for a minute and make this next step and fix it so we'll be that much closer to driving it. Yep, this is gonna be very primitive. I normally don't like doing things this way, but it's almost the only way to get it done right now. So yeah, here we go. Also went and grabbed me a big old junkie box to kind of catch all of my chips, if you will. So let this whole ball goes. Well, I guess I should have tightened the drill bit up first. Rookie. Y'all don't judge me. Remove that chrome cover. I got it. Ain't that fancy. Now we can wiggle that switch out of in there. That piece right there is what we was really needing. And we messed it up a little bit. I think it's still salvageable. Ugh. We got metal slivers everywhere. Those are gonna get our attention. This old car's had the ignition switch replaced in it already at some point. Ooh, somebody's chewed up kind of melted the thing. I have to get the camera a little closer on that one. Clean up our mess. Okie dokie. Got our new lock cylinder here. And before I get too carried away, just wanted to kind of make sure everything, let's say, matches. So a lot of times you can run into different blade orientations. This one is the same. So, and I want to make sure my little bezel here is going to work. So let me show you guys. Let me show you what I done. This is the original one, and I drilled through here with that giant drill bit, and it basically removed the head of that lock cylinder. This is my replacement one. We'll start over. Okay, so here's what we did. This is the original lock cylinder and switch, and I used that giant drill bit, and if you'll notice, it basically removed all of the head of that lock cylinder, allowing this piece right here to come off of it. Now, if we had the original keys, we could have pulled that lock cylinder out of this thing and, you know, basically not had to be so gnarly with it, but it's just kind of what we had to do. Now, whenever I removed this piece, my drill bit got into it ever so slightly. And by slightly, I mean it kind of did a little bit. Now, sometimes you can buy a replacement one of these, but this one may still work just fine if it'll start on there. all we needed to do is spin. I'm working it like that, back and forth, to let it kind of recut its threads. Yeah, that's going to work just fine. So, yeah, see, that'll do it. That'll do just fine. Now, once we get it all in there, we will have to put our lock cylinder in, and then the ignition switch will be swapped out. That wasn't terrible. So far, it's just a couple of minutes of work. But I will tell you this, guys. I always like to put a lock cylinder in the switch first and then remove it, because I've hit them before where they just don't play well together. And just this little quick little thing isn't too big of a deal, but it just ensures that you only do it once. Now for this little trial run, I'm doing it, a little oil on those threads, and a drop inside this key. Not much. This thing's brand new. Sometimes they're a little stiff, if you will. Now to put this thing together, or to take it apart, better yet, you will need a little bitty drill bit like this one. And that is so that you can push that little bitty finger in. Now, let's see here. There's a couple of little notches. Yep. Now that was smooth as glass right there, folks. Key comes out. If you have this car, you have accessory, then you have off, then it's on, and then start. Now, if you wanted to remove this thing, what you're supposed to do is turn it to the accessory, like so. Then you use your little pin, or drill bit, better yet. Press that in, all the while twisting it the opposite direction. Maybe. And then that should remove the lock cylinder. See? It's not that hard. Yeah, see? Not hard at all. One more time. All right. Okay, now to install this thing, you've got a couple of little cogs or notches. They have to line up inside of that ignition switch. Once you find its home, you just kind of start the switch. That allows it to fall into place. The lock cylinder won't come out. Now, if you do want to remove it, you have accessory position, the off position where you can remove the key, the on position, and then you have start. You will need to turn it to accessory. That's where the key won't come out. And if you also notice, that little hole right there lines up with a little brass little button in there. You will take your drill bit and press that little pin, turn the key the opposite way, remove your drill bit, and then that lock cylinder slides right out. Now, if we would have had that key on that other one, you saw how long that would have taken us. But we didn't. So this is the process we have to go with. So let's get this back out of here real quick. Now we can put in our new ignition switch. This is gonna be fun. Maybe it won't be too bad. Okie dokie. Let's see if we can line all this up. Squish it on there good. And then finagle this little switcheroo up in there. Y'all see how smooth this is going? Too many things in my hand. I'd hold my mouth right. Let's see what we're doing wrong. Something's not working right. I would assume this little dude these two little notches here are supposed to line up. All right, let's try it again. The collar only goes on one way, so I assume that goes to the bottom. And then, kind of a process. Nope, we aren't there yet, folks. Come on, girl. Kind of a, yeah, this ain't gonna work. I mean, it will, but we're gonna have to refine it. Shoot, that fits nice now with that oil on it. We just ain't holding our mouth right, apparently. No, it really only goes on one way, which is cool. That's pretty close, it looks like. Let's see now. Oh man, start. This is difficult. Woohoo! Finally got it. Alrighty. Now, to tighten this thing up, we'll use a couple of screwdrivers. I'm going to get another one. Be right back. Alright, somebody's coming back here. We'll just stick a screwdriver in there. And another screwdriver in here. To move them screwdrivers around, there's 3 little holes in that little chrome bezel. They make a specialty tool for that little socket with these pins in it. But I don't have that. I'm using screwdrivers. This thing doesn't have to be crazy tight. Just good and snug. Should be it. Yep. Then slap your lock cylinder in. That's her. Fixed it. That simple. That simple, right? I mean, that only took like 45 minutes. Whew. Well, I guess we really and truthfully are at our moments of truth. Our moment of truth. We're got an ignition switch in it now. And it's time to hook a battery up. See if this whole thing will crank up and run. Hope this goes well. We'll just have to see. Hook up his battery. And give her a roll. 4 fingers crossed. I probably ought to open up the back door over here to let out some of that fumigation. Pretty day today. Let's see. Dear Lord, please let this go well. Please let us not catch nothing on fire. Please let us have a good time. For your name we pray. Amen. There ain't nothing going on in this switch. It's like the car's still dead. Ain't that weird? I wonder if the battery wire's off. Is that a ground or is that a hot? A lot of times on these old Chevrolets, there's a wire that runs all the way through. Basically gives it its juice inside the car. That looks like a ground. We want to get a light. And that big wire I'm talking about usually connects to your positive battery. We don't have one of those. So unless it's connected to the starter, it don't have any juice going inside of the car. See what I mean? Time to do some diagnostics. Take this battery cable off. Take this battery out. See if we can find something. That's a giant ground. That's what that one's for. Yep. Here it is. Yep. Ooh, and somebody's worked on this dude before. Because it is a piece of solid wire out of a house. Let me show you guys what I'm talking about. Alright, this is what I was talking about. Let's see. There's a junction. Alright, this is what I was talking about. Here's a little junction. There's your big wire coming out of your main harness. And it goes to this little block. And then this is that big fancy wire somebody's put in there. And it's just like a piece of house wire. So I'm going to take that loose down here, put a regular kind of piece of wire in there. That would technically work, but that's just a little problem. So we can do that and then put that into here. And then that, I think that's it. If that's whatever that's the positive battery cable. Put it on the positive battery cable. Therefore, there will be juice come from it back into the car. That's it. This is turning out to be a bit more of a pain than it should be. But that's just kind of how this stuff works. Know what I'm saying? A little fiddling here, a little fiddling there. Now, if all goes well, we'll twist this thing off. I don't know if that's coming off or if I just spinning the stud. Yep, it's just spinning the stud. So that means we're gonna have to cut it, splice it, just to get the car going. No big deal. No big deal. See here. Clip that. Put a big old crimp in on it. And then tug on it. Yep, it's tight. Wrap her up with some electrical tape. Jeez, that's gonna have all the tape on it. Then strip his end off. And then we need to put this on. We need to cut that off, get that out of the way. And put this in here. And we'll be good to go. With our juice wire in there, now we need to connect this thing into this thing. So we'll just simply loosen up this clamp and kind of squish it up under there. I must have not remembered that piece coming out of there. Little setback, no big deal. That's pretty tight. Now this thing, that's a ground that's supposed to be on here too. So we're gonna go ahead and put that over here on the negative side of the cable. Now I don't want any issues. Like sometimes this connection right here, if you got in one of these old cars and the headlights kind of flare whenever you rev it up, a lot of times it's this ground. And this car sitting as long as it has, we probably ought to take it loose and there at the radiator support and clean it up. But we can do that later. We can do that later, anytime. I want to see if we can get this thing started up today. Pretty tight. Cool. Let's grab our battery. Hoo-yah! Man, that thing's heavy. Don't want to pinch any of them. So, I make that look so graceful, don't I? I know. Y'all can hold back your compliments. All right. Round 7, I think. Okay. Try this again to see if we got juice inside of the car. Dome light's on. We have a generator light. Stupid starter's bad. Again. We're gonna try crossing it and bumping it again. Key switch on. Let's try that starter again. Nope. This is becoming a pain. Something's clicked. Well, it's turning over. See if it'll start this way. Nope. I don't know if there's a bad ignition switch terminal in there because they weren't in the best of shape. We're gonna try this again. We got another fuel leak again. This sucks, man. Sucks, it sucks, it sucks. Now, just a minute ago, I went to crank it and I had a fuel leak and I touched here because if you'll notice, that is up on the fitting and it's wet. We were leaking in this joint, but now we're leaking in this joint. That either means that the crunch on this is already bad or like this is damaged in here. And I would almost speculate, if you'll see this line's all squished up and twisted, that I probably should just make a new one of these little 90s. Now, me touching it here, you can see where my finger's wet. That fuel is going to run down here, meaning downhill, excuse me. So I'm going to make one of these and see if that will prevent it from leaking. Yeah, hopefully this works. Let's get that kind of out of our way. And then take, let's get a paper towel. Yeah, we'll use this thing. Shows we got some fuel pressure. Trying to inspect in there to see if anything was cracked. Sometimes you'll run into where that thing cracks right around that end. It looks all right. We'll just put that new one on. Here's my fancy new one. Sure hope this fixes this thing. Fuel leak's aggravating. Absolutely aggravating. But you don't want them. You definitely don't want a fuel leak. Oh yeah, that's kind of soft and squishy. It should mean it seals up nice. Okay, now let's bump that starter a time or two and see what it does. If it gets more fuel pressure and it don't leak. That's good. It's not leaking. All right. Sounds like that pump's working. So car may hit now. Let's see. What if it does? I wonder if the switch is on. Yep, switch is still on. Oh, I should have not done that. Maybe we'll just see if she'll start. Ugh. This is aggravating. We're gonna put some starting fluid in it and see if that'll hit. Come on, baby. Oh, ignition switch may be dead in that thing. That may be. Nope. That ignition switch is working. May need to idle that carburetor up a screw turn or two. Let me try that. Watch that throttle blade move. It's not even touching. Come on, baby. Man, I can't reach it and start it all at the same time. Wish Pops was here, or even Hammer. I need a step stool. Right, let's try this another way. Come on. Come on, baby. Come on, girl. Come on, baby. There we go. Heck yeah. Oh yeah. 25 years and she ain't ran. Running now though. Woo. Ah, gracious. That's all right. Probably not. But it ran. She fired up. We'll have to try this again. I'm gonna try to see if we can get this starter going too. We'll need you to, if you will, yeah. Need that big long test light wherever it's at. Go hand it to me out of there. Thank you, sir. Pop, bump the key. Try to start it. Hold it to start, like on. Nothing? All right. We ain't got juice coming out of the dash. When I bump it down here, it works. I wonder if this car's got like a fusible link or something. I wonder if it could be bad or melted up here at the junction. You can go ahead and get up, Pop. I'm gonna pull this junction off a firewall. Kind of makes you feel like an idiot when you find that simple stuff. Well, the trick is that we found it, to be honest with you. You know what I mean? Doo-doo. Well, go ahead, Pop. No, you're good. Just hang loose for a second. Well, what we wound up doing is we had a little bit of a hiccup, I guess you could say. Kind of a brain stutter for a moment. We weren't having where the switch wasn't working. And after doing some diagnostic work here, I realized what it was. The car was in drive. The neutral safety switch was working properly. So all I had to do was put it back into park, try the key, and now the ignition switch works. Sometimes when you get in a hurry, you know, you can't see the forest for the trees. And I was definitely had one of them moments. So Pop, if you will, I'll get you to climb in on this thing. I'll open the door and we'll see what happens. Get in it. Go ahead and get in it and close the door. That way, if you got to drive off with it, you can. It don't have any wheels, so you can't go far. Let me work the gas, Pop. Go ahead. Keep turning it. All right, let me get over there on the other side again, and we'll try it one more time. I think we need to do some tuning. He's idling. Not too bad. Let that thing sit there and run for a minute. Okay, so we got this thing fired up and it's running. And I want to set the dwell while it's warming up. That's this cool little gauge here. This pops. And all you do is put this on the positive and negative side of the coil. And then you flip it to dwell. And you can set it however you need it to the specifications of your car. Yeah, let's see here. It's supposed to be at 28 to 32. And we're at about 32 on it. So we could dial that back ever so slightly. do that. Open up this window. Woo! It's hot.